those of you that remember my recent Linux PC build, the BioStar B450MH with the Athlon 3000G, it's been running very well. I actually happen to quite like it. In fact, I like it so much that I wanted to get another one. So, except this time I didn't try to get the cheapest build possible, so I do have some better components. Although the irony is that it's not that much more expensive, because some of the parts I ended up getting were on sale for basically half price. So I think it was only about $50 more expensive. And most of that was just in the RAM. So here's what we've got. We have a bulk package SSD, and NVMe, of course, because I don't think I'd buy SATA SSDs anymore. At least not for hardware that supports the NVMe. It's just some bulk packaged. I think this was double the price of the Lexar SSD that I ended up getting, although this is still a Lexar SSD. I think it's like an NMM 100 or something. Let me see if we can actually see what it is. NM 500. Okay, well, LNM 500 is what I was looking at. And I thought it was only 128, but it's actually 256 gigs, so that's not bad. Here's the RAM, which you can see is quite a bit better than what I put into the cheap build. Not that much faster, but still pretty Intel compatible. Not that I'm using an Intel build, because it is, of course, the AMD. I think that these are limited to 2933 megahertz, so buying the faster RAM doesn't really give you a whole lot, so you might as well just get something that supports it. That's what was in stock. And then I have this board, which I'm hoping is going to actually be compatible with it. Supposedly it says it is, but you never know. It's just, it's a little bit more, probably a little bit more reliable from a more well-respected brand. Like I said, I've had a lot of issues with reliability with those BioStar boards, and even though the one that I got seems to be working just fine, who knows about the long-term longevity of that thing. So I wanted something that was a little bit more name brand, and I ended up getting it with this. It's a pretty old platform by now, though. I'm not even sure this would support 3rd gen chips, so upgrade options are probably limited. Pretty typical assortment of stuff. I mean, you get your I/O plates, which still has those dumb, ridiculous tabs on it. Kind of unfortunate. This, I believe, is for the M.2. I don't know if this is... I think it might have an M.2 for Wi-Fi, and that might be what this is for. I'm not 100% sure. I guess we'll find out. 2 SATA connections. I'll probably put those in with the system. Although I only think I need one, if I even need that many. Manuals, as per the usual. Again, I'm surprised they give you a paper manual. And of course, they give you a driver disc. Pretty standard assortment of stuff, though. Okay, here's the board itself. Very nice looking board, if I do say so myself. It looks like it does only have the one M2, so that's what that little nut and screw is for. Unfortunately, because it is one of the cheaper boards, looks like it also uses that newfangled mounting system that AMD Asus is so fond of, where you just press it into the one slot and it kind of works. Not really the biggest fan of that, but it is what it is, really. There's not much choice you have. Because these are the cheaper, I think the A-series chipsets are the cheaper series, the budget-oriented ones. You only get the 2 RAM slots, which is fine. I don't envision this ever using more than 2 gigs. Or 2 gigs. Using any more than 8 gigs. Using any more than 2 RAM slots. So, I think that's pretty much all that's terrifically interesting about this. Looks like this thing wouldn't even support a hardware TPM. So, definitely not Windows 11 compatible. Of course, if you want my honest opinion on the whole matter, the whole Windows 11 requirements are a crock of hooey. But we won't go down that particular rabbit hole in this video. Here's the installed CPU. Cooler. Very lightweight looking cooler, but then again, for 35 watts of TDP, you don't need much. It's It's probably still bigger than the stock Intel cooler. Some of those chips are pretty power hungry and heat generating. Alright, there is everything installed now. I mean, you've seen people put computers together thousands of times, so most of the steps are pretty similar. A320M-K motherboard. Looks very stylish. I actually happen to like the way it looks, the nice black PCB. The red even matches as well, because this is an AMD system, you know, Team Red and all that. So, works well. I just noticed that this only has a 4-pin CPU power connector, which I think is odd. Most of them had 8-pin. I think even the BioStar board had 8 pins, but then again, this is supposed to be a cheaper board, and it probably only needs that. A pretty respectable set of I/O. Does have the VGA and the PS2 that I need, so that's good. Let's get it hooked up and see if it actually even works at all. Okay, we are ready for our first power up. Let's see what goes bang. Well, that looks pretty. Fancy little standby LED setup. Let's see if we can get it to power up. It's on. Please work. First power up might be a little slow. But that's not very promising. I do see the CPU doing stuff, the fan. I'm not convinced it's actually working. Well, that's kind of unfortunate. Well, that sucks. No matter what I do, I can't get it to work. So I'm guessing either they lied about the CPU support, which I doubt, or this board does not have an updated enough BIOS to be able to support this chip. And I don't really have any way to get this to run. I mean, I do have the 2200G that I could probably put on this board. It might work. I don't know if the BIOS is up to date enough to support that chip. So I don't even know if it will work at all. And so what I've done is, what I will do is I'm going to just go to the local computer store, because I got to buy a couple other things anyway, and I'll just get another board and maybe another set of RAM, and we'll mothball this and find a CPU that it will support a little bit better. It's just too bad, because I wanted this project done tonight, and it's not going to get done tonight now. So that was a bust. We'll try it with this. Already, we have a market improvement. Let's see, this one's 3000 desktop ready. It's got all this stuff. It's the newer chipset. It was quite a bit more expensive, double the price, but oh well, what can you do, right? This one will not support the A-series APUs, but it does support everything else. Hopefully it will actually support what I need out of the box. I guess we'll find out. Okay, this is a good sign. I'd love to know why they give you this. Because it's got all these different CPU types on it. But yet this thing is only going to be able to take one type of CPU. I don't know why they felt the need to put like the Intel and the TR4 for the Threadripper. It doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. But whatever, I guess. The I/O plate. Some nice SATA cables. Let's unwrap it. Here is the board. It's a much nicer board. See, they actually also use the Asus thing, where these are not, these don't bend down. Only these ones do. But at least you get 4 slots on this one. So more upgradability. And it's got the nice shield for the PCI Express. And 8-pin CPU power. Not that it needs it, because, I mean, quite frankly, it's a 35-watt TDP chip. How much power does it need, right? So, anyway, no fancy gamer bling. Just a plain Jane board. Just what I like. Okay, let's get all the components installed. Well, I got a brand new set of RAM for this build. I'm going to use the other set for the other board and get a different CPU. Of course, because I cannot have everything work, the heatsink is bent on this one module. Hopefully that doesn't mean it's broken. I guess we'll find out. But, like, come on, can anything else go wrong? Okay, well, bent RAM heatsink and all. Let's see if it happens to work. Now, let's see. JFP1. I believe these are standardized. Well, we have some diagnostic LEDs. It's flashing CPU, which is not overly promising. Wonder if I've got a defective chip. Oh no, here we go. Now it's doing stuff. Hey, look at that. It actually happens to work. Devices changed. Please press F1 to run setup. Don't mind if I do. That's very promising. Okay. So I'm going to get this set up to my liking, and then we'll see if we can install an operating system. Okay, looks like everything is working. The XMP turned on, and looks like we are now good to go. So I'm going to get the old system out and switch this board. Alright, out with the old, in with the new, which you can barely see. So we'll let power on here. And we'll install our operating system, which is going to be Linux. I am going to be installing Linux Mint on this. Just as, at least as an attempt here. Basically, there are two things that need to work, and then one that I would like to work. Number one is I need this wireless card to work, because this is my good wireless card. Number two is I need internet connection sharing to work under Linux. And I know in the past it was rather difficult to do that. I think they've made it easier in newer versions of Linux. So we'll find out how this goes. I just want standard stuff. Nothing too fancy. Okay, here we are at first boot. And let's see what we've got going on here. Welcome to Linux Mint. Do not show this dialog at startup. We are connected to the network, so the Wi-Fi will work out of the box. Now I think the way to do this is to come into this and select shared to other computers. And then if I come in here to connection information, that's not what I wanted. Well, whatever. I'm going to go ahead and put this in, and we'll see if it'll actually work. Okay, well, it's complete now. Everything is pretty much done. But, as you might be able to see when I do this, we're back on Windows. Couldn't get Linux to do what I wanted. I don't know why. First of all, the wireless was only connecting at like 6 megabits a second, which is unacceptable. I don't know why. I guess it was trying to use 802.11a for some reason. I don't know, it's really dumb, but, so it did that, and when I turned on the internet connection sharing, share the Ethernet with other computers, it didn't work anyway. There was no internet. So I don't know what was up with that, and I don't have time to deal with that. So I just swapped in the old SSD. I'm using the SSD, not the NVMe. We're just going to go with that, and we'll save the NVMe for another project. So there you go. It's just running as it was. Everything seems to be working. I did change the Ethernet cable as well. Unfortunately, they gave me this stupid flat thing, which is not what I had ordered. Although those flat cables are more expensive, so it's not like I'm going to complain too much. But either way, I'm not really sure how well that's going to work in the long term. So, whatever. It works for now. And that's pretty much it for this video. Thank you for watching. If you've got any comments, feel free to leave them down below. It took a long time and it was arduous to get there, but we did get there finally.